There are two people you need to be absolutely honest with. You and everybody else. Hey, this is Todd. Welcome to the Thrive Singles Podcast. Whether you're single again or still single, stop hating being single and learn to thrive. And let me extend a good, honest welcome back to this week's painfully honest episode of the Thrive Singles Podcast. Honestly, I think you're going to get a lot out of this one. All right, I'll stop that now, but in case you haven't guessed it yet, this week I'm talking about honesty with yourself and others. Before I begin, thank you again to everyone who likes and shares the podcast. Together, I think we can make a difference in the lives of singles seeking to do better. Okay, unless you grew up in a ridiculously dysfunctional home, you were probably taught that honesty is the best policy. Your parents probably told you this in the context of dealing with other people. Today I want to affirm that truth, but it applies just as much when dealing with yourself. Are you honest with you? Lying is easy. That's one of the major problems with being honest. Sometimes lying or just making stuff up is easier. The truth can take some effort to ferret out and even more effort to explain. Why go through all the effort? Just make something up. Just say what people want to hear. Of course, it always catches up with you eventually. Sooner or later, somebody will go through the effort to uncover the truth, and you get exposed. As you tell lies to cover your lies, it gets harder and harder to keep your story straight and not contradict the lies you told already. So why do we lie? Let's put aside for a moment the lies we tell other people to make them feel better about themselves or what they did. Basically, we lie because it betters our situation. We lie when we feel we have something to gain by it. Basically, we lie to get an advantage, make ourselves look better, or cover up something we did wrong. That explains why we lie to others, but why do we lie to ourselves? What do we gain from that? We lie to ourselves to soothe our consciences, justify our behaviors, or, in general, feel better about ourselves. And sometimes, it's just easier to lie to ourselves than to put all the effort it takes to suss out and deal with the truth. Sometimes, it's not actually a lie, it's just not the truth. Other times, we don't consciously lie to ourselves. Our memories can be very imperfect. Over time, it gets harder and harder to accurately remember exactly what we did or why we did it. Plus, we tend to judge ourselves a lot less harshly than we judge other people. We're more likely to give our motives and actions the benefit of a doubt. But try to be honest with yourself. The truth is, you're probably not as good, bad, attractive, ugly, smart, or dumb as you think. In many instances, people close to us can gauge us much better than we can gauge ourselves. That's one of the many reasons you should surround yourself with high-quality, honest people who will tell you the truth in love. Your opinion of yourself is, to some extent, bound to be skewed, so get some trustworthy input. And try to be as honest with yourself as possible about what's going on inside of you. Who are you? At your core, what do you believe? What do you enjoy? What type of relationship do you want? Are the things you believe about yourself who you really are? Or, be honest, are those things you've adopted because of the expectations of others? Where are you? Where are you in your life, in your journey to recovery, in your growth as a person? Do you need to make some changes to grow more spiritually or emotionally, or to be in better physical health? Be honest. Are you mature enough to handle a relationship? Have you healed enough from your last relationship to get into a new one? What do you want? What do you want in life? Marriage? Singleness? Personal growth? Better health? Be honest. Are these things that you really want, Or are they what you're willing to settle for? And here again, are these things you really want? Or are they things you feel like you should want? You want to get to where you really want to go. And you need to start from where you really are. Never let others define who you are or what you want. Be honest with yourself. You don't want to finally arrive at the place you thought you wanted to go, only to realize that you were talked into wanting to be that person or wanting that thing. And wherever you actually want to go, you have to figure out how to get there from where you actually are, not where you think you are or where you wish you were. It doesn't do any good to plan a trip to Texas from California if you're actually in New York. Be honest about where you're actually starting from. It's important to be honest with yourself and others about your past relationships. Have you been through a bad breakup or a divorce? How much of it was your fault? 50-50? 80%? 20%? Own 100% of whatever percentage of it you find to be your fault. In your next relationship, what could you do better? Be honest. You can't fix what you can't see or what you won't admit to. Honestly, I made mistakes in my marriage that helped lead to my divorce. Honestly, you made mistakes that helped lead to your divorce or your breakup too. That doesn't mean it was all or even mostly my fault or your fault, but it does mean we all have things to work on. And let me take that a step further and be brutally honest with you. If you've been through a succession of bad relationships, it's time to evaluate the one thing all these relationships had in common: you. So be honest with yourself. What changes do you need to make? It's important to be honest with yourself. It's also important to be honest with the people around you. Since this podcast is about thriving as a single, I want to especially concentrate on being honest with people you go out with and people you're interested in pursuing a relationship with. A huge mistake I see singles make is carefully crafting an image tailored to the person they're interested in. What good is it to have someone get interested in some image you fabricated for them, an image you can't possibly live up to in the long term? That cannot lead to an intimate and fulfilling marriage. Might work for some short-term fling, but honestly, is that what you really want? If you follow this podcast, I assume you're looking for a marriage that will last a lifetime. Pretending to be someone you're not cannot lead to that. It just can't. If you're working toward a lifetime marriage, it must be built on honesty. There's nothing else that builds the intimacy, faithfulness, and trust it takes to be married long term. Build your relationship on honesty, right from the start. Never use flattery, bragging, exaggeration, or any other little white lies to win someone's affection. Just be you. Of course, first make sure you become the best you can possibly be, but then just be you. Give each person you go out with the opportunity to see who you are and decide whether that person is someone they're attracted to. That's how long-term relationships are born. That's how my own remarriage was born. It was built on a much better foundation than my first was. We are and have always been honest with each other about our strengths and our weaknesses and who we are at our core. I know some of these are hard truths, but better hard truths than easy lies. So, till next week, remember, honesty really is the best policy. Be honest with yourself. Get honest, trustworthy input. Be honest with the people you interact with, especially those you go out with. And as always, thrive on. I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. See you next week. Till then, be sure to subscribe and go check out my extensive archive of past posts at thrivesingles.com. And thrive on.
Whoa, thrive. Yeah, come alive. There's more to life